Hi Blender fans and welcome. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how we can actually make the easiest egg ever, and at the end of this tutorial we're going to actually do a pretty cool effect with the egg that we make, just to actually add a bit of interest to this tutorial and show off another feature of Blender. So let's begin. Just delete that cube by pressing the X key just to delete it, or you can actually press your delete key, and we're just going to add in a mesh. Now you can make this in under 17 seconds, I think my record is for making the egg, but what we're going to do is just add in a UV sphere. The standard UV sphere hasn't got enough topology for my liking, so I'm just going to change it to 64 and 32. And as you can see, we've still got some lines on there, so I'm going to hit the right key on my mouse and shade auto smooth. So now we've got our egg, got a ball actually. Right, so what we'll do is actually go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, and we'll select the very top point, just like that. We've got a thing called proportional editing here, so select proportional editing, G and Z will actually make our egg. You can actually move your mouse wheel to actually change the proportional editing to get the desired shape of your egg, and there we have it. That's it, egg created. But what we're going to do is add some quick effects to this, just to actually make this something special in Blender, and this also covers some of the actual little points in actually learn them and use them for other things, like particle effects, explosion effects, and other things like that. So first of all, we're going to add in a mesh, and the mesh is going to be a plane, and scale it up. Right, I've got a golden colour for my egg, and I'm just going to actually select my colour, which is a golden coloured egg, just because I think gold eggs are quite cool. And we're going to add in a particle effect. Now, the particle effect is one that's actually already built into Blender, and it's called the Quick Effect Explode. Make sure that your egg's selected, you know this by the yellow ring around it, and hit the Quick Effect. As you can see, we've now got a Quick Effect, but it's going from frame 1. I didn't want it to go from frame 1, I wanted it to go from frame 60. So rather than it actually starting at frame 1 like that, I want it to go from frame 60, so select this and change it to 60. The actual frame start is frame 60, so nothing will happen until we actually get to frame 60. And as you can see, it falls straight through our plane. So back to the beginning, and we're just going to go on to physics, and we add in a collision modifier on our plane which we've just selected, collision. So now when we press play, we should get up to frame 60. Oops. Up to frame 60, you can also press play here. And as you can see, our particles don't seem to do much. So let's start to muck about with some of the actual details of our particles. So select the egg, select the particle modifier. First of all, I want my particles to last 450 frames. But I want some of them to fade out, so I'm going to change the lifetime up to 1, so that means at different points they'll fade to black. Or fade to invisible actually, but in your render. As you can see, the items are not very reactive. In fact, they're staying up, stood straight up like little soldiers. And we're going to change the number that I break into, so I'm going to change the 100 to 250. So now we've got 250 particles, just like that, just by changing that figure. You can also make the egg break up at different points. So if you have it happen over a few seconds, change it back up to 60 on here for its start, and make it 72. And as you see now, it'll actually break up over the frames. So it depends on the effect you want. But for this effect, I want them all to break up at exactly the same time, on frame 60. 60, and it goes, boom. There we go. So let's just add some rotation into our particles, just to make this look a little bit better. So you've got rotation. Now, change the randomization to 1. We'll change the random phase to 2. And we can change the phase up like that. So you can see our particles seem to rotate, but they break up at the thing, but they don't carry on rotating. So say they're still stuck in a linear state, and that's when you hit this magic button called dynamic. It recalculates the particles, and every time it actually interacts with something else, it will change it. So there we go, hit the dynamic key, and there you have it. Quite a cool effect. And then if you want, you can add a bit of thickness to things, so add a modifier. And I'm just going to add a solidify modifier, just to make my little pieces that little bit thicker. And you can actually change the thickness down here, which is a bit too thick that, but I'll change that to 0.2. Or is it 0.02? I need to make it 0.02. It's entirely up to you what you want to play about with it and how you want to actually create your particles and play around with your egg itself. So we've altered rotation, but you've got other things on here that you can alter. You've got physics, and you've got forces like Brownian and drag. Drag means that when they actually hit the actual plane, they'll bounce less high. As you can see that one there just flicking over. You got Brownian. Can't remember what Brownian does, but I think it makes things just act a bit weird, you know, when they actually hit things. I think it's a kind of motion like you get in a liquid when you first see that change to things. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to actually subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and of course leave a comment. And damping, I believe, just makes things stick to things, so let's just try it. Yep. Or is it just making it move slower? Let's take it back to 0. And of course, there is one more thing that I haven't actually mentioned about our egg. So let's just go into it. There's a thing called field weights. Now this is actually gravity on an actual object. So if you change this to 0.2, as you can see, the actual effect is much slower and a bit more like slow motion. And that's only because gravity has actually been slowed down. I always like to add